live yet? I'll just keep saying good morning until I feel that we're live. Oh, yes, I think we might be live. So, good morning, good morning. It is, what is it? Thursday morning. It is, I know the date today. I know the date today very well because it is the 11th of February. It's the 11th of February. And let me see, 8 years ago, we're going to go down memory lane here a little bit. 8 years ago, I had flown into New York on the 10th of February. And on this day, 8 years ago, I was at the hospital in New York City holding my daughter's hand while we went through different tests and different things. And then we got the news that there were some issues and some problems, and we were rushed upstairs, and then it was sort of all systems go a little bit. And yeah, it was a traumatic, very, very traumatic time. And the only reason I remember this date, of course, as you've probably guessed by now, is that my grandson Reese is going to be 8 years old tomorrow. So he's so excited, and they're coming into Florida tonight. And so I'm really excited. And I also, not only do I get to see him on his birthday, I get to see both of my darlings on Valentine's Day. So we actually thought, you know, with the love of my grandson and his birthday and love spilling over in our house at the moment and Valentine's Day, we thought that we'd talk a little bit about love today, and we'd like to sort of explore the topic of love just a little bit. But before we do that, first of all, I'd like to say good morning to Grey Eagle, who is always, as always, by my right side. I'd also like to say good morning to Chris. Good morning, Chris.
Good morning, everyone.
And it's cold in Vermont, I understand. Really, really snowy and cold. But guess where I am, everybody? Yes, I'm here in Florida. I think yesterday it sort of reached the high 70s, but with fantastically beautiful cool breezes. Am I really, really making those of you in the freezing cold? Am I making you miserable just talking about it? Well, come on over then. You know, save up, get your plane ticket, and come on over. Now, how could you resist that invitation? And so, yeah, so it's beautiful here. And finally, I was supposed to. I was doing it through Instagram, and you did get a few little things from me as I was driving down. But at some point, driving down to Florida from New York, it's quite a long way, and at some point, I just went to sleep. That was the end of that. The intention was there for me to keep you abreast of every couple of hours of my journey until I fell asleep. So anyway, here I am back in Florida. We are going to be doing some little bits of movies here and there. I have a friend who's with me at the moment this afternoon. I'm going to be making a birthday cake. I might be going to the beach, so I might be sending all you guys on Instagram. I might be sending you some little snippets of the beach because it's beautiful there, and getting ready for Reese's birthday is yes, I'm so excited. I'm so excited about that. And he wants chocolate cake, so I'm going to make my very famous. Now I understand it's maybe not famous to you guys, excuse me, but in my family and in my household and with my friends, my chocolate cake is something. It is to die for. And if you want the recipe for it, of course, you've only got to email me and ask me for it, and I'll give it to you. But it's delicious. I call it my double chocolate mocha cake. And that is what Reese has requested. He also wants chocolate hearts because he's a love bug. So we're going to be making chocolate hearts. And when he comes tomorrow, he'll come tonight. But tomorrow at some point, he's going to help me make the chocolate hearts. And I have this edible gold paint that I paint all of the chocolate hearts with, and he loves to do. That's his job, to paint the gold on the chocolate. See how decadent we can be in my house. Anyway, chocolate cake. So I'll be taking little snippets of that. So whether we do it on Restream or whether we do it on who knows where, certainly we'll be putting it up on Instagram. And I might even be playing the piano a little bit for all of you who I put it up on Instagram. I put well, actually, it was my daughter took a little snippet of a video of me playing the piano. Not that well, I have to say, but still, I mean, it's been years and years since I played the piano, so I was just testing things out, and she put it up. We've had so many thousands of views so far. If you want more, I'm happy to give you more. I thought maybe a Brahms lullaby or a little bit more Beethoven, or hey, send in your requests, everybody. I was with Reese over Christmas time, and we were playing the piano, and I taught him to play some Christmas carols and so on. And he's now into learning Ode for Joy, which is Beethoven, Beethoven is one of my favorites, and Chopin is my all-time favorite for the piano. And what else did we learn? Oh yes, for Elise, and what else? It's a couple of different Beethoven sonatas, which if you all go to Instagram, if you race along to Instagram before I take it off, because I am going to take it off at some point, you'll see my pathetic, that's the title, that's the title of the Beethoven sonata. quite apt, really. Not really pathetic, but anyway, my attempt at playing the piano. Chris, you've listened to it. What do you think to it?
I love listening to you play piano. I mean, I'm envious. Anybody that can play music, I'm envious.
Well, anyway, so we thought, Chris, what do you think about the topic being love? Love, love, love. All we need is love. Da, 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 da. That's the Beatles song, right? All we need is love, love. Love is all we need. So true, right?
Absolutely.
So, what are you doing for Valentine's Day? Do you and your husband have anything great planned for Valentine's Day?
There's a more than likely chance we'll be able to stop and see my youngest on Valentine's morning, which would be really nice. But it all
Very
depends on the
nice.
snowstorms.
Yeah, that's so nice. Well, that's a good plan. That's a really, really good plan. You know, there was a time in my life when I would receive Valentine's cards, anonymous Valentine's cards, actually. And there was a time when I would receive flowers. Unfortunately, Chris, as you get older, well, maybe not for everybody else, but for me, I can't remember the last time I had a Valentine's card unless it was from my daughter or from my grandson. They better send me a card this year, keeping my fingers crossed. But for all of you out there who are in love or looking for love, or you know, have a partner who showers you with chocolates and flowers and all of that stuff, we'd love to hear from you guys, because I'd like to know what that feels like. I've forgotten what that feels like. I'm such an old lady. I've forgotten what that feels like. But I do, by the way, have chocolates from Maggie. So Maggie, I love you, and thank you very much. So not for Valentine's Day. I think they were whatever they were for. They were Christmas or whatever they were. But I do love you, my darling. Thank you. I love those chocolates. I really, really love the sort of dark chocolate liquid cherries. They are my favorite of all time chocolates. So thank you for that. So you see, I'm getting something for for my Valentine's. I just got it ahead of time, and the mailman's just come to the door. I was just looking to see if he wanted me to sign anything. No, he's gone. He's disappeared. All right. Well, that's that then. And so, you know, if you're planning anything, any of you, for Valentine's Day, or if you're like me and you're going to be sort of, well, I won't be on my own this year, but usually I'm on my own over Valentine's Day. And you know, if you're on your own, there are lots of things to do. We're going to talk about love. We're going to talk about the different kinds of love that there are, and we'd love, there's that word, we'd love for you to interact with us and tell us what love means to you. So, Chris, I'm going to ask, I'm putting you on the spot. What does love mean to you?
I would say I tend to think of unconditional love. So if you just had a fight, you love them anyway. If you are feeling frisky, you love them anyway. If somebody has wronged you, you love them anyway. Keep your boundaries up, but love them anyway. So when I think of love, I think of unconditional love.
It's very hard though, don't you think? It's very, very hard to have unconditional love. Um, because sometimes, you know, people say things to you and we know that they don't mean it, but nevertheless it hurts anyway. So, you know, uh, it's hard to move past your own hurts and your own pains to see where other people are coming from. It's sometimes very, very, very hard for us to give the benefit of the doubt. But when we give the benefit of the doubt, it's amazing. The results that we get are amazing. And when we give the benefit of the doubt to people, it opens up a whole new world for us. We'd love to hear from people who struggle to give the benefit of the doubt. Are you one of those people who hold a grudge? Well, we have, you know, a few things to say to you. It's easy to say don't, but how do you stop it if you're one of those people who hold a grudge and you can't help it, or just can't help it? Just can't help it. How do you get over that? How do you deal with not holding a grudge anymore? And you know, so there's so many different kinds of love. So first, I'm going to speak to the love of my grandson and my daughter. She, whenever I put him first in the conversation, she say, "What am I, chopped liver?" But I perhaps love her so much because not only is she my darling girl, but she also gave me my darling boy. So she gets my double love for that. But he gets double love because he's just a, oh gosh, he's so good. He's so cute. He's so wonderful. And over the weekend, I'm going to guess, and over the time that they're going to be here, I'm going to guess that we'll be doing lots of little snippets of videos with him and with Samantha. Um, but the love of a child or the love of a grandchild is sort of, if you've never experienced that love, and I do have to say very quickly, just because you have a child doesn't mean you've experienced the love of a child, because you might, for whatever reason, not love that particular child, or maybe you're not capable of loving that child. So we mustn't assume that every parent who has a child loves that child. But speaking for myself, I think my greatest love and my greatest joy and my most abounding feelings of love and joy and specialness come from my grandson and also from my daughter. So I feel extremely fortunate that I have that. But then there are other kinds of love, you know, love in relationships, in love relationships, in partnerships. And sometimes, you know, the feeling that you love them more than they love you, or vice versa. Or sometimes you can have the love of a friend and friendship, which goes beyond just an ordinary regular friendship. And I'm fortunate in that I have, you know, I have so many true friends. You know, they say you can count your friends on the fingers of one hand, and I can count mine on those, all of those. And I could use more fingers, please. So I'm so, so fortunate. Of course, I've been able to travel the world, so my friendships extend perhaps beyond the normal realms of friendship. But I'm so fortunate to have friends who I can truly say, despite all of their faults, and they have many, and despite all of their, you know, their the warts and the and the bad stuff, I love them, truly love them. And part of the reason that I love them, warts and all, is that actually they love me, warts and all, because I've got all of my faults and all of my failings, which they seem to manage to sort of they either forgive me or they overlook them or whatever it is, or they know them but they accept me anyway. And I think that true loving and true love is knowing someone, understanding their faults and failings, giving the benefit of the doubt, and accepting them despite their faults and failings. And I certainly am grateful that I've had that, because people love me despite my faults and failings. And so I'm very, very grateful and very, very blessed for that. But will I get flowers on Valentine's Day? Probably not. Will I get a chocolate heart? Probably not. Will I get a Valentine's card saying "I love you" with a question mark underneath, and you know who it really is, but that, you know, it's all that secret stuff. Oh, I long for those days, but only when I think about it, which isn't very often. Chris, help me out. Give us a question. Let's get some comments here before I go absolutely crazy.
Absolutely. Well, Dan is on.
Who is?
Dan.
Morning,
And
Dan.
and says, love is also when you are hurt or angry, to tell them how you feel, but give them dignity and respect. No screaming, name calling, shaming. It also means help me see what I am doing wrong.
Oh, right. Fantastic. Yeah, I like that. Okay, keep going. I love that, actually. Yes.
Vicky came on first thing and said, many thanks for sharing my experience, Rosemary, because that's what you shared on last Saturday's story. It felt strange hearing my own story. I have managed to transfer consultations from a tape to a PC and will forward as requested. Hugs.
Oh, brilliant. Oh, I'd love to hear it, Vicky. And thank you so, so much. You know, we put it out there to everybody. If you have a story, and that you'd like to tell that story, and if you have known me in the past and you have a story to tell about me, good or bad doesn't matter, as long as you're not insulting, as long as you're not rude, as long as you're nice and polite. And we've had quite a few stories, but we would love to hear more. So if, 20 years ago or 30 years ago, you're looking at this screen right now and you're thinking, I know her from some, oh, that, yeah, that's that woman. As you know, I was always known as that woman, or that English woman who talks to dead people. So if you have a story and you'd love to share it, we'd love to hear it. And Vicky, thank you so, so much for allowing me to tell that story. I hope I did it justice, darling, because it was such a great story, and I pretty much read it verbatim. I tried to read it as you'd written it. So I hope I did justice to it. And thank you for sharing it. I really want to hear that consult. It'll take me back. Yes, I had somebody also, a few years ago, especially I think, oh, I don't know, when I was in England, but very often, and it does happen from time to time nowadays too, but very often those in the spirit world would actually come through, and they would give a poem to their loved one who they'd come through to talk to. And I think it was Heather who sent in a poem from her husband. No, sorry, it was to her husband from his grandmother in the spirit world. And it's a beautiful poem, and she shared that with us the other day. So we are at some point going to share Heather's story as well. Thank you, Heather, darling. It sort of just took me way right back. And the poems that come from the spirit world, obviously, they are inspired by their spiritual growth, their knowledge of spirit, their knowledge of a life after death. And some of these poems are so beautiful and so moving. And I know that there are many of you out there, a lot of you in England, who perhaps have received a poem through me from the spirit world. If you'd care to share with me, I'd love to have those poems. I'd love to hear them again. I know that they were for you and meant for you, but just being able to share those things with you was just amazing for me. So please, 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 would you consider sharing? Chris, let's keep going.
Well, Dan also said he wanted to thank you for sharing your gifts with us, and also for past prayers for healing. We appreciate you.
Oh, Dan, thank you so very much. Thank you. I really appreciate that. That's so nice of you to say that. Okay, keep going, Chris.
Sherry says, love the piano. And Dean says, I'd love to hear Rosemary play the Moonlight Sonata.
Oh, wouldn't you just? And I'll tell you a funny story. if I reached across my coffee table right now, I could actually put my hands on that piece of music. I do have Moonlight Sonata right in front of me on the opposite sofa. I was looking at it yesterday. Not a little bit psychic, are you, darling? Anyway, whether or not I shall play it, who knows? But it's so funny because when I was in New York and I was, so with Reese and we were playing, so many different tunes, and it was Christmas time, so we were playing Christmas things. And then I thought, I'd really like to teach him a little bit of classical stuff, see how he handles that. And it was so funny because I ordered the music for Elise for him, and also for Ode to Joy. Somebody in his school, one of his teachers, had mentioned Ode to Joy, and I thought, oh well, we'll try that. So I ordered the little Beethoven book for him. And then I went on YouTube to see if I could find it being played. And I came across the funniest little thing it was the Muppets playing, what was it? Ode to Joy. La 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 la. And if you get a chance, everybody, it's hysterically funny. And of course, Reese is 8 years, just coming up to 8 years old. And I'm thinking, I want to sort of get him into the mode of classical music. Not that I think he should be just in that mode, but I think, being able to share all types of music is great. And my favorite music is traditional jazz. So I'm, and blues. I love the blues. So I should get him into that at some point in the future. But I love classical music too. And I thought, what better way to bring it into his life and to him experience it a little bit than to than to show him the Muppets. Well, we laughed and laughed. We played it and played it and played it. But then when he came to play it on the piano, first of all, he knew how it sounded. And when you know how a piece sounds, it's easier to play it. And he also was thinking of the Muppets, and he thought, so it encouraged him to play the piano a little bit. However, when I was playing the little piece that I play on Instagram, I did have to stop playing it at one point because I was sitting at the piano playing, and my daughter and my grandson were sitting on the sofa. And Samantha loves to hear me play the piano because she remembers when she was a kid, I always used to play the piano a lot. And she hasn't heard me for many years play. And so I was sitting playing this little sonata from Beethoven. And I looked across at the sofa and I noticed Samantha's holding on to Reese and he's holding on to her. And I noticed that he was sobbing and sobbing and sobbing because that piece of music, he said, Mosey, it makes me so sad, and it makes me think of Piper, and it makes me think of Cachorro. And I was actually at that time playing it for Cachorro. And I thought, of course, I stopped playing it. I didn't want to upset him. But as I went over and gathered him in my arms, I was so thrilled to understand how beautifully and wonderfully sensitive my grandson is. If he's sensitive to music, and if you can be moved by music, then you really, what better way to be? What better way to be than to allow yourself to go into the music and to be moved by all of those different things. Chris.
Well, we have a lot of your fans here, your friends, talking about what musical instruments they play. Vicky says, I play the violin badly. Sherry says, I play the sax. So we're learning more and more about people.
Let me just say that if I can, aside from the piano, which I love a good saxophone. And I love that moody stuff, that jazzy stuff. Oh, yes. So, and I love the drums. So I guess the piano, the saxophone, and the drums are mine. Not that I play the saxophone or the drums. My daughter plays the drums really well, but I do not. Yeah, nice. Keep going, Chris. Sorry, I interrupted you.
No, you're fine. Nova is on from your YouTube channel, so hopefully people are subscribing.
Good morning, Nova.
Nova says, good morning. I'm new here. I have school in a few minutes, but I just wanted to say hello. I'm reading one of your books, Rosemary.
Oh, right. Which one? Well, there are quite a few books, and I do hope you're enjoying it, and I hope you'll come back and join us. We are talking music at the moment, but we can talk about anything. We usually talk about what do we usually talk about? Actually, we usually talk about the spirit world. That's what we usually talk about. But hey, music and cooking and anything and everything that comes up, we can talk about. But again, today, I'd love to hear your comments, everybody. What is your idea of love? What do you think love is? What do you think love should be? Or if you have hopes and wishes about love, this is the show. Let's hear from you. Chris.
So Joe says, since losing my soulmate 2 years ago, I think I will go to our favorite restaurant in Key Largo, Florida, on the water to celebrate Valentine's Day.
Oh,
I'm
nice.
I miss him so much. I will never forget his love.
Oh, well, uh, we're talking about you going there on your own, but I think you know that you won't really be on your own. You know that, right? That he's going to be going along with you and sharing these moments with you and reminiscing with you, because even though we lose them in one way, we lose them physically, and it's such heartache for us. We know that they're always there, we know that they're always with us, and we know that they're sharing. And I'm sure, and in fact Grey Eagle is asking me to tell everybody out there, all of you who have lost someone, all of you who have lost your lovers, whether that is your life partner, whether it is your soulmate, whether it is your child, your grandchild, whoever it is, whether, no matter what, Grey Eagle is telling me to mention to all of you that love shines down and is showered upon you from those who love you in the spirit world. And even though it's Valentine's Day and we expect it or we look for it on Valentine's Day, Grey Eagle is chuckling and saying, but it happens every day. So please enjoy your meal. Watch rainbows, why don't you? Keep going, Chris.
All right. Betta is on. Good morning, Rosemary.
Morning, better.
What a beautiful blouse you have. It
Oh,
looks great on you.
thank you.
I wonder if my beloved grandmother has a message of love for me today. Greetings also to Grey Eagle. I'm very happy to see you.
Thank you. And I don't see your grandmother, but apparently, according to Grey Eagle, everyone's loved ones are here today, especially because it is Valentine's Day, especially because the topic is love. So better just listen very carefully, and I'm sure she'll whisper in your ear. Anyway, you know that, don't you? You do know that. Keep going, Chris.
Amy says, love is sharing the white light that radiates from your soul.
Oh, I like that. Wow, I love that actually, and you're so right. I agree. Chris?
All right. Mary says, Rosemary, you look beautiful in that top.
Thank you.
Looks like you're getting your votes in.
My what in?
Your votes. Everyone loves your top.
Oh, right.
My
Thank you.
12-year-old, sorry, my 12-year-old son Nicholas, who also happens to be a love bug, he is now back in actual school and struggles sometimes. Do you have any spiritual advice for him?
Um, well, our little love bugs, they are so sensitive, and they are so, and they unfortunately, and it is the same for my grandson, unfortunately, when we have children who are sensitive, because they are sensitive, and beautifully so, there's no such thing as being oversensitive or too sensitive, ultra sensitive, beautifully sensitive, perfectly sensitive, all of those good things, because these kids make the nicest people. They make the most empathetic people. They make the most caring and the most loving of people. And this is what you want in your children. And I know that people get impatient with kids or with adults who have that, what they consider to be that oversensitive thing going on. The problem with you, or the trouble with you, was always said to me, the problem with you, the trouble with you is you're too sensitive or you're oversensitive. No, no. The joy of me and the gift of me is that I am ultra sensitive, yes, those of us who are sensitive, we feel the pain and we feel the hurt, but it makes us more caring and it makes us more loving. And I think you've got a real little sensitive child here, a real little love bug. So my advice to you would be to always be supportive of that for him. Always remind him that sensitivity brings great joy. It brings great pain, but it also brings great, great joy. And it is the nicest and the best way to be. Sometimes our sensitive children get bullied, or they have a tough time at school, or they feel as if they don't fit in, or they're sort of on the outside of things. That was me. I was always on the outside at school. I was always the kid who held back in the playground and stood and watched while everybody else played and had a good time. I was always that kid who was sort of never included because I was too quiet, or I was, whatever it was, I was, different. And kids know if we're different. And so, so we nurture them, we love them, and we explain to them, and this is what you must do with your child, this beautiful little love bug of yours. And that's what you must say to him. There's nothing wrong with being sensitive. And in fact, the nicest people are the kindest and the most gentle and the most loving. And, if my grandson suffers a little bit because he's sensitive, he's the nicest, he's the kindest, he's the most loving. And that's what I would wish for him in his adult life. Keep going, Chris.
Bailey says, "Good morning, Rosemary. You
Good
look
morning.
beautiful today. Thank you for all you do. I am still seeing my spirit orbs."
Oh, good, good. I'm glad.
Michelle wants to know, what made you write your books and how did you go about it?
Oh, is this reminiscent of a writing class, Chris?
It is.
I have done a couple of writing classes, and if anybody's interested in taking a writing course with me, I'd love to be able to help out. And if you are interested in that side of things, please email us. Put in the subject line writing course, and hold your breath. We may or we may not do it, but I love to do it, and I love to help potential writers. What made me write my book, I've no idea. I can remember sitting with a friend of mine years and years ago, before I ever put pen to paper, and we were just chatting about different things, and I said at some point, I said, when I write my book, and I'm thinking, what? I'd no idea until that moment, and no idea, no thought, no possibility of writing a book. But as I saw more clients, as I became more involved, and seeing more people, and being able to talk to the spirit world more and more, and I think being moved and being inspired by other people's stories, I remember just sitting down one day with a notebook and a pen, and I thought, I'll write other people's stories. And so my first book, The Eagle and the Rose, the first, second, third, and maybe fifth and sixth and seventh, until I actually ended up giving it to Warner Books, and having a fantastic editor, Joanne Davis, a fabulous editor who helped me. I think the book was, it was simply other people's stories. There was nothing in the book about me at all, because I felt, compared to other people's stories and compared to contacting the spirit world, compared to all of that stuff, my life was a little bit boring, a little bit average, and I didn't really feel that anyone would be interested in my own personal story. However, my own personal story is what went towards making me the person I am today. And so I remember, first of all, I gave the book, when I'd sort of finished what I thought was, I'd finished the story, I gave it to my sister to read, and she read it, and she came back with it, and she threw it at me. She said, here, not literally, she didn't throw it at my head, but she threw it at me and I caught it. She said, you know what, if you can't write the truth, don't write anything at all. And I said, wow. But I knew exactly what she meant. Now, there was nothing in the book that wasn't the truth. but you can lie by omission, can't you? And so I had in different ways, I'd lied by omission because I'd kept myself out of it. I'd mentioned briefly that I had three sisters and two brothers. I mentioned briefly, I think, that my father was in the army. I'd mentioned my family briefly and really sort of as of no consequence to the book that I was writing. But my sister saw that, you know, if I'm going to tell it, I need to tell it all. Well, that would make at least several books to tell it all, wouldn't it? But I knew exactly what she meant. And then when Joanne Davis, my editor, got hold of the book, she said to me, you know, it's all these stories are all really well and good, Rosemary. They're all very nice and so on and inspiring and etc. But there's nothing in here really about you. And the reader is going to want to know about you. And I didn't want to write about me. I much prefer to write about other people than about me. But then I could see that people would want to know, well, how does she know, and how did she discover this, and you know, people have lots of questions. So that was when I can't give too much away, because if you haven't read The Eagle and the Rose, then I can't give too much away. But I think when you write, you've simply got to take your own experiences and use what you have experienced, even if it's a fiction, a book. Take your own experiences and use your own experiences to explore the way that you can write and what you write about. I've been actually, it's funny that this question should be asked of me, because over the last 2 months while I've been in New York, I've been helping Reese, and he's been writing first of all fiction, and for the last month he's been writing non-fiction books to do with school and so on. But I've been able to help him with that, and he's sort of I've been able to guide him, and it's paid dividends, because he really does like writing. Maybe one day he'll be a little writer all in his own right. So if you want a writing course, I'm your person. I can help you, I can guide you, I can steer you, sort of. But I think you've got to be very disciplined to be a writer also. So you've got to sit down and promise yourself you're going to do X amount every day, and then you've got to do it. Chris, do you have anything to say about that, Chris? Have you got any comments about this? I'm laughing because you know exactly why I'm asking you, don't you?
Yeah, I do. I'm writing a paranormal romance book, which is about 600 pages right now, which will be edited. And I've got about 6 children's stories I'm writing right now. So getting to it, right?
Yes, get to it.
Yeah. So I would love to pronounce this person's name. I'm gonna think it's the initial K in Senija, but if I'm murdering it, I'm sorry. They say love is the ability to choose thoughts and actions of the light of God.
We love it. We can't pronounce your name. We're so sorry. You know, you could always write it out for us so that we can just sort of spell it out as it sounds, rather than as, you know, phonetically, rather than, you know, but we're so sorry. I apologize also. It's very hard sometimes to know how my grandson's name. Don't think you're the only person whose name we can't pronounce. You have no idea how people butcher my grandson's name. Now, if you're Welsh, or even if you're British, and you know a little bit about Wales, you'll know exactly how to spell my grandson's name, and you'll know exactly how to pronounce it. But people get so tongue-tied over it. There are no vowels in my grandson's name. Rhys, Rhys. It is a Welsh name. It's very common in Wales, actually. It's a very common name, but people people make a real mess of it. So don't worry if we can't pronounce your name. We apologize beforehand, but if you could write it phonetically, that would be great. Right, Chris.
All right. Next one in line is Claire. There's a couple of comments.
Hi,
Claire
Claire.
says, "Good morning. I feel love when I do my soul's purpose." And then the
Wow.
second comment.
We want to know what that is, Claire. Yes, keep going, Chris.
The second comment is, wow, you gave me goosebumps. I work with children and they tend to navigate toward me, especially the sensitive ones. But I was told to slow down and do less. It goes against my principles. I have a chance of change. Would that be right?
Oh yes, I don't know who told you to do less. We've always, especially when we're with our children, we always have to do more. In fact, I've been saying to my grandson over the last 2 months, uh, you know, if somebody says for instance, if the teacher says I want at least 10 lines from you, you do 12. If somebody says I want an hour's work from you, do an hour and a half. More is better. And so, as far as children are concerned, you do have to be careful. Are they saying that you have to be careful how you treat sensitive children? Because you do. But if they think that your involvement is too much, then I I don't think that you can be involved with children too much. I think the trick with children is not to be talking to them so much or at them so much. Obviously, we have to talk to them, but listening is really the way to go with children, because so many of us don't listen to what our children are saying. I know that there's a certain person in my grandson's life, and they'll go out or they'll play or they'll do something, and my grandson will say, I'm bored, and this person will say, no you're not. And it's like, oh, what? I, if somebody's bored, they're bored, so listen to them, pay attention to them. If somebody says I'm hungry, you don't say no I'm not, you say, hi darling, well, let me see if we can get something to eat. You don't say no you're not. I had a husband years ago who would I would say, well, this is what I'm thinking. No you're not. Or I would say, well, I was just going to say, no you weren't. Okay then. We have some mind readers. You can't be a mind reader with children. You've got to listen to them, and then you sort of, you answer them and you interact with them. I'd love to know more about what you do, my darling. But yes, growth and change, that's what you should be looking for. Right there. Right there. Yes, Chris.
Michelle says, I love your books and work. You're an inspiration. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. We're getting lots of compliments today, Chris. I don't know quite why that is. It because the topic is love, and we're all wanting to share our love and our thoughts, and I love it. I love, 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 love it. Keep going.
Well, Marta thinks you have lovely nails.
Oh, thank you. Well, actually, I just broke those two yesterday. Thank you, darling. I do have to say that of all the things that I inherited from my mother, which are very few things, but tough nails. That you can't really. When I say I broke my nails, what I did was I banged them and snapped them. But they are so tough. I've never had a problem with my nails. They're so tough and they're so strong, and they're a bit scary, really. So I've got tough bones, tough nails, tough teeth. Yes, keep going, Chris. Thank you for the compliment. I think it was a compliment. I hope it was a compliment. Thank you. Yes, Chris.
Hillary says, hello, Rosemary. How
Hi.
to know who is our spirit guide? Thank you.
Well, as we've been talking about, we are going to be doing classes. We're going to be having all sorts of courses, and we're going to be learning how to connect with your loved ones in the spirit world is one of those things that we're going to be doing. We're also, and I should mention this, right, Chris? I should mention that in the next couple of months now, we are going to be having, let's see, we don't even know what to call it, do we, Chris? But uh, I've often gone out and gone to work with crowds of people. Sometimes maybe 100, sometimes 50, sometimes 5,000, depending on how or where and when and so on. I remember once I was in a football stadium somewhere in Italy with thousands of people. Anyway, giving messages from the spirit world, and of course Gregor would help me to give those messages from the spirit world. We're going to be having an event. It will be an online, it'll be a webinar, but it will be an event where Gregor and I will be giving messages, purely and simply. That's all we should be doing. We might be chatting a bit, and we'll certainly try and have question time for people, but we will be giving messages from the spirit world to those of you who want to participate. Now, people have been looking forward to it. People have been asking me if I would do this for a long time. We have not yet set the date, but we will set the date within the next 6 to 8 weeks. We will set the date. If you are subscribed, if you go to my webpage, rosemaryaltea.com, if you go to the webpage, you can subscribe there. Or if you just keep checking the webpage from time to time, you'll see it advertised. It will be a first come, first serve basis, and it will sell out very quickly because we're going to limit the amount of people. It won't be the first one we do. If this is successful, we'll do others. So, don't think if you miss the first one, then you miss your chance. But certainly it will be messages from the spirit world, and that will be the focus of our webinar. So it will be at least a 2-hour webinar focusing on connecting with those in the spirit world for all of you who are participating in the webinar itself. We shall make it very affordable for you all. So please, it will be first come, first serve. Tickets will go very fast, I'm sure. If you haven't subscribed to the web page, I would advise you subscribe. Or if you just want to be on our mailing list, we'll send out a letter. We send out a letter every month, once a month. We send it out letting you know what we're going to be doing, and we will be sending out a letter. So if you simply want to be on the mailing list, please, what do they have to do, Chris? Because you'll know better than me.
They can either email the office, Chris, Kris, at rosemaryaltea.com, or they can go to the front page of your website, rosemaryaltea.com, and down the bottom, they can put in their email address, and we will add them to the mailing list.
So it's very simple then, right? It's very simple. It's very easy to do. But I'm going to suggest, if you want a message from a loved one in your family, if you're looking for messages from the spirit world, or if you're just intrigued and interested to see how it works, if you don't necessarily want a message for yourself, but you want a message, you want to see how other people cope with that, or of someone who would like to be involved, share. We always encourage people to share, but that's what we should be doing. So please watch out for that. Chris.
All right, I'll read you 3 other comments. Vicky says, "Oh, a self-biography would be wonderful, Rosemary."
Yeah, not happening.
Sharon says, "I've been watching your videos over the last month, and they have given me much comfort. Thank you." And then
you're very welcome.
And then Sherry says, "I'm so excited about your upcoming events. I've waited for so long to hear from a special friend of mine who passed in 1994. It's been a heart-wrenching time."
Well, that's what we'll be attempting to do. Now, of course, there are no guarantees, but obviously, if you're in this seminar, the chances are that you'll get a message, or you will see how it works. And there'll be, as I say, if this works out, we've never done this on a webinar before, but I'm keeping my fingers crossed. There'll be an option for you to come on screen with me. There'll be an option for you to not come on screen, but that I can hear your voice, or you can simply go into the chat room and we'll communicate that way. But we'll give you all the options and all the details. So please watch this space. We will be doing this in the next couple of months. Chris.
Claire was responding to your question. She said, "Those in charge are afraid of my success with them."
Oh, that's sad, isn't it? It's very, very sad, Claire. I've seen that before, and I've seen, it's like, you get someone who's sort of in a job, doesn't matter what it is. It's actually, I'll tell you a little story, because it's a simple story. It doesn't quite speak to the heart of what you're saying, but it illustrates. I was talking to my friend yesterday, and we were talking about somebody that we know who was having a birthday party for a mutual friend of ours. And so she gave this birthday party, and I called my friend, the one who the party was for, and I said to him, what would you like? Can I, because he loves my cooking, can I make you something? Can I bring something to the party? And he said, what I would really love, and I did mention this earlier, what I'd really love, Rosemary, is your famous chocolate mocha cake. So I made the cake and I took it, but the person giving the party was also somewhat a baker, and she'd made cakes and fairy cakes and so on and so forth. And anyway, I came into the kitchen, and I noticed all the food was put sort of on a counter space right at the front of the kitchen, and I'm looking at all this beautiful food. It was all lovely, very nice. And I thought, well, where's my chocolate cake? Because I'd handed over my chocolate cake when I went in. Where's my chocolate cake? And it was shoved right to the back of the kitchen counter, at the back, far back in the corner of the kitchen, where nobody would see it. And I thought, well, wait a minute, this is my birthday gift to this guy. So I took it out and put it on the countertop. And there are always people who will resent you if they think you've done better than they have. Now, my chocolate cake is a little bit spectacular. I do appreciate that. But why wouldn't somebody say, wow, let's have this. This looks good. I wasn't going to stand by the chocolate cake and say, this is mine, I made it. Didn't matter to me. And there were other things there that were just equally as nice. And maybe some even better. I don't know. And it depends on your taste. But here you are in an environment where people are a little bit jealous of your ability. But here's what they don't understand, or what they might even resent. Some people have an energy about them, an aura about them, a kindness about them, a gentleness about them, and a sensitivity about them that children will be drawn to. And you obviously have that. And those who don't have it perhaps are a little bit resentful. Don't be upset with them. Don't be angry with them. It's just the way it is. I wasn't upset with the lady who took out all of her cakes and left mine in the corner, stuffed in the corner of the kitchen. I just, be yourself. Don't be afraid to be yourself. There are people who condemn you for it, and there are people who will love you for it. But be yourself regardless, and find a place where people appreciate you, and they appreciate the gift that you have, because obviously you do have a lovely gift. Chris.
Sharon says, my precious mom passed away almost 2 years ago. I am trying to be there for my dad and family, but often feel very misunderstood by my brother and his wife. He doesn't realize I would die for my family. Do you have any advice?
I do. I'm so sad that this happens. I see it all the time. I do see it all the time. Just be, as I just said to the other lovely lady, I've forgotten her name just for a second, but be yourself, regardless. If your brother and his wife are having a struggle with you, really it's their problem. It isn't your issue, it's theirs. If you get a chance to talk to your brother on the side there, just say to him, I do love you. And we may not always be able to connect, but I do love you. But don't stop doing what you're doing. You be you. The people who love you will accept you, and the people who are resentful of you, there's not a thing you can do about it. So I'm suspecting that if your brother had a supportive and a loving wife, maybe somebody in your corner, things might be different. You can't change things. You can't change other people. You can't change other people's ways. Just continue being who you want to be, and don't let other people affect you in any way that stops you from being the loving and caring person that you are. And you know what? If people don't realize that you would die for your family, that's their loss. It's their issue. It's their problem. Let it go and move forward and just be you. Chris.
Well, I don't have any more questions to add, Rosemary, and you have 5 minutes left before
Okay. Wow.
noon. Oh, wait,
Nobody wants
somebody just
to,
put something in.
I was going to say, nobody wants to talk to us.
Ro asks a question. My grandma passed in October. Does she have any messages for me or anyone in my family?
Oh, well, I'd love to be able to say yes because we've got time, but I don't actually see anyone at the moment. But as Grey Eagle has said, there is so much a showering of love, especially today because the topic is love. There's so much a showering of love from those in the spirit world who are connected to all of you out there who join me on these shows, and all of you out there who maybe can't make it live on the show but are listening or checking us out later, which a lot of people do. The spirit world, our loved ones in the spirit world, celebrate this weekend, celebrate this weekend of love, celebrate this weekend of joy. When I say it's a long time since I had a Valentine's card, it actually is, except from my daughter and my grandson, but I'll take those. um People don't always know how to show that they love you, but if you reach out and you show other people how much you love them, that is the key. Don't be afraid to say to your family, to your friends, to anybody out there, I do love you. I love being with you, or I love sharing stuff with you, or whatever it is. My friend Mary Lou came to dinner last night and she ate my chicken wings, and I do love her for eating my chicken wings, but don't eat too many because I want some left over. I'm going to the beach this afternoon, and then I'm going to come home and make a chocolate cake. I think I might take some chicken wings to the beach. I'm not sure really what I'm going to do. Oh, decisions. Have a wonderful and a lovely and a joyful and a happy weekend, everybody. And bring love into your heart. Don't wait for other people to share love with you. You share as much as you can the love that you have for others. Do we have anything else, Chris, before we
A,
close?
a couple more. Xenia says, my mom passed last year. How is she doing there?
And again, I'm hearing from Grey Eagle love, and I think she's, no, I don't think it. I'm being told she is surrounded by it. So surrounded by love. How nice is that? Yes, Chris. Anything
Lin,
else?
Linda says, my mom passed on Valentine's Day. So
Oh,
that's what she's thinking about.
all right. Well, you know that you've got to make a cake or something good for her, don't you? You know that you've got to celebrate, have the joy, have the love, have the celebration. I know that we miss our loved ones so much, but we need to celebrate for them and we need to smile for them. So, be joyful that she's safe, be joyful that she's well, be joyful that she's with you. Apparently, she's going to be with you on, is it Sunday? Yes, it's Sunday on this very special day. Anything else, Chris, before we close?
Yeah, a couple more.
Oh,
Tracy
you did it,
says,
didn't you? You did it. You said we don't have any more, and then no.
yeah, Tracy says, I have had many white feathers appearing around me outside. Did they have any meaning?
Oh, absolutely. Well, uh, feathers are can be very powerful. My power symbol. Oh, would anyone like to know about power symbols, by the way, or power animals? Because we are going to be doing a webinar talking about those and helping people to find that theirs. My power symbol is a feather. My power symbol actually is an eagle feather. But feathers are very often messages from our loved ones in the spirit world letting us know that we're around. But white feathers are messages of peace and love, of calm and tranquility. So somebody in the spirit world is obviously trying to say to you, we wish you peace, we wish you love, this is what we want for you in your life. And I suspect, my darling, that you need it right at this moment in time. you know um, the Native Americans have this wonderful thing they believe in, and I believe in it too, that the spirit world will ask those tiny winged creatures. This is the way the Native Americans will put it. They ask those tiny winged creatures. So those butterflies, those dragonflies, those tiny little insects, sometimes ladybirds, and all sorts of other tiny winged creatures, and often the birds. Will you go take a message to my daughter? Will you go take a message to my grandson? Will you go take a message to my beloved partner, my soulmate? And very often, certainly for me, if someone in the spirit world wants to send me a message, sometimes they'll send a bird pecking at my windowsill. Sometimes it'll be a feather floating from the sky for me, and I know that someone in the spirit world is thinking of me and sending love. So how nice. So please pay attention, everybody out there. Those tiny winged creatures will send us love from our loved ones in the spirit world, so we need to pay attention to that. Also, the Native Americans, just as we're on the subject, believe that the butterfly is the symbol of eternal happiness and joy. And I shouldn't say all the Native Americans, the Apache believe that the butterfly is the symbol of eternal happiness and joy, as do I. So I wish you lots of butterflies this weekend, everybody. Thank you, Chris. You were great. Thank you to Grey Eagle, and thank you to all of you out there for joining me this morning. We shall be here on Saturday. Yes, another story time. We should be live on Saturday with the story time. It shouldn't it, be a story of love and a story of awakening love, or something. I have to dig deep in my bag of stories to see what I can come up with. So I shall see you on Saturday morning. That's right, Chris? Are we doing a story time this week? Or maybe we're not doing a story time this week.
Whatever you decide.
I'd like to do it if you'd like to do it. So we'll talk about it later. We'll let you all know. Anyway, plan on story time at 11 a.m. Saturday morning, Eastern Standard Time. Same way, same time. We are restreaming, so we'll be on Facebook, we'll be on Twitter, we'll be on YouTube, and we'll be all over the place, actually. And we'd love to hear of your stories. If you could share them with us. Remember, if you've had an experience with me, even if it's 50, won't be 50 years ago, maybe 40 years ago, even if it's so long ago, you've almost forgotten all about me, share the story, and I'd love to share it with everybody else. In the meantime, please have a very, very blessed rest of the day, everybody. We'll see you on Saturday. Bye-bye.